companies who's made significant progress since their initial presentation. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items so you know how to participate in today's event. You will be seeing 7 live presentations, 9 minutes each, with 5 minutes for Q&A. You'll then see one update presentation from our alumni company with no Q&A. We ask you to place your questions in the Q&A function of chat. So not in the general chat, but in the Q&A function of chat. And our moderators will take those questions and ask a few questions to our entrepreneurs. Very important, when you put the question in the Q&A, put the company name at the beginning of the question, right? So it would be Lithero dash, how do you do this magic, okay? This way, the companies can go back and answer the questions when they're done presenting if we don't get a chance to answer it in Q&A. Also, we're trying something new. We've created a Google form so you can provide feedback as we go along and provide contact info if you want to get in touch. We will be sharing the link several times during the forum. After all the presentations, we'll move back to the expo floor and begin our networking portion. There you can go from table to table as you would if this were a live event. Even bring your coffee with you. Please note all microphones and cameras will be muted during the presentations, and then you'll turn them on during the networking session. Throughout the meeting, you can chat online with other people, much like many of you do when you're live. If you have any issues, you can't talk, but you can chat. If you have any issues during the forum, please use the pink icon that says Remo Help at the bottom left of the screen. As I said, we've shared an online Google folder with you all today. It contains today's agenda, one-page briefs. And then if you want to download the materials, check the email that you received yesterday. It's wonderful to have so many investors, sponsors, and early companies in the same virtual space, all contributing to the Mid-Atlantic entrepreneurial community. We are so very grateful to our platinum sponsors, Troutman Pepper, Morgan Lewis, and RSM, our investment partners, and supporting organizations. If anyone is interested in becoming a sponsor, please contact me. I want to thank our wonderful board for all the work you do to get our companies ready for today's event. And we're also delighted to welcome our newest board member, Veronica Fay from Soundboard Venture Fund. For our audience, I'll let this catch up. For our audience, here's a glimpse of what happens. Each forum starts with the board helping us recruit companies. As many as 200 companies apply to each session. Once we screen out companies that are just not a fit based on stage, location, etc., our MADV board reviews all the applications and selects the 12 most investable companies. Then we schedule each of the 12 companies to present to the board. They receive extensive feedback. You can ask them about it. From there, the board determines if the company is ready to present to this audience. And if so, we assign 2 coaches from the board to work with each company to help prepare them. So again, today, that's boiled down from the original 200 to 7 companies. Coaching might include reviewing IP, helping define the value proposition, working with financials, refining the ask, and suggesting edits to the presentation. All I can say is, and thank you so much to our coaches, and thank you so much to our entrepreneurs who listen and take the feedback. And now, at this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Brian Slough of Morgan Lewis, who will be moderating the first half of the meeting. Dr. Glenn Gaddy will moderate the second half. Brian, can you introduce yourself to the audience?
Thank you, Ellen. Yes, happy to. So thank you for the kind introduction. As Ellen mentioned, my name is Brian Slough. I'm an attorney at Morgan Lewis. I work primarily with founders, early stage companies, and investors investing into early stage companies. So very happy to be here and be a long and proud supporter of MADV and their efforts. So thank you very much for having us. If anyone would like to ever chat, I'm always happy to talk. I love everything that you guys are doing and the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So I just enjoy it. Love to hear about what's going on. Please reach out to me anytime. You could, find me through MADV, Google me, Twitter, LinkedIn. Please don't hesitate to reach out. And with that, we'll move to our first presenter, which is Nyron Burke of Lithero.
Good morning, everyone. Let me share my screen. We'll get started. All right. Good morning. Company is called Lithero. We are an AI company focused on speed and accuracy in regulated content, specifically the pharmaceutical industry. I will start off by just talking about our team. We started the company in 2015, and in my experience throughout my career and also at Lithero, the team is what matters. So I'll give a description of who we are and why you can have confidence in what we're building and how we're leading the company. So I graduated from Princeton in 2005 and spent my career after that at Accenture. I grew up at Accenture. I'm a business operator and a technologist, so both technical and a significant amount of management experience. When I left Accenture to start Lithero, I was leading a large SaaS business service, had 110 people on my team, supporting over 80,000 pieces of content in the industry. And I started Lithero to solve a problem that I saw my clients have that no one was offering a solution to. And I'll talk about what that problem is. The other key members, Dr. Brandon Morton from Drexel, serious researcher in artificial intelligence, very advanced, published researcher, has been with Lithero for the last 4 years. And then Rachel Kane, who's helping us commercialize the product, deep experience in industry, strong relationships. Most recently was leading a life sciences practice at Navigate, where she built that practice leveraging her network. So very strong team. 3 other members of the team who are more junior members, and I can share more details on their backgrounds if you would like. Let's talk about the problem we're trying to solve. Question, right? Have you ever seen a drug ad without side effects? Almost certainly the answer is no, because if you did, you would be observing a serious compliance violation, because every drug has risks and it's legally required to make sure that those risks are disclosed. And not only that the language is there, but even things like the font or the color are important, because it's important that there is a fair and balanced disclosure of risk with the positive information. The generic name has to be there. There's so many rules, hundreds of rules that are related to how drug content needs to be presented. And to make sure that those rules are followed within the industry, and these are hours that I saw and observed and saw my clients spending, almost 600,000 hours are spent every single week reviewing content in the industry. Pharmaceuticals are the biggest spenders, the biggest advertisers of any industry, which is part of the reason we're starting there. And they're also the biggest spenders on making sure that quality is there. In my experience, pharma gets a bad rap, but there are a lot of people, thousands of people, who are spending their time making sure that the communication to physicians and patients, payers, is accurate. It's just very, very expensive across the marketing agencies, the marketers themselves, legal, medical, editorial reviewers, patient safety folks. There's consultants that come in to support a significant amount of effort that drives a significant amount of cost, which is our TAM. So across advertising in general, we estimate there's about almost a $50 billion spend on content quality. Almost half of that is just within pharma. Again, pharma does the most advertising, and because of the potential risks, multi-billion-dollar fines, brand risk, reputational risk, they make sure to invest significantly in that quality. The key thing to know about this number is it doesn't actually drive their business. It's purely about risk reduction. So everyone wants to reduce the number, right? It doesn't help them reach physicians. It doesn't help them R&D. It's just about risk reduction, right? And a couple of things that they're spending their time on, simple things like proofreading, the risk information, reworking content. This is not the spend to create the ads. It's just the spend to make sure the ads are correct. So how do we address that issue, right? How do we reduce that $20 billion spend, which, by the way, gets passed on into drug prices? Over the last 6.5 years of, again, PhD level research, lots of iterations and pilots with large pharma companies who are research partners of ours, we have built what we're calling the Lithero Artificial Assistant Suite. It's an integrated set of neural networks. I'm sure you've heard about ChatGPT and neural networks are in the news. It's the same kind of core technology, but applied in a new way and proprietary to Lithero. So not something that's publicly available. But what Lara does is it brings the perspective of those reviewers, right? It brings the medical perspective, the legal perspective, the regulatory knowledge, as well as the kind of low-level spelling, grammar, trademark symbol, commas, those kind of things as well. So when users use Lara and the companies engage with us, they're getting that full suite that they today have to rely on humans to do. Right? We have taken that core technology and we've deployed it in 3 ways. So 1 product, 3 revenue streams, 3 ways of going to market that all drive significant benefit to our end customers. The first is Lara Research. We call that kind of Google for claims. And what it does is it takes the understanding of the AI and it makes it available in a simple search box. So if you want to know, what did I say about this drug related to efficacy, you can put a phrase in, and Lara will spit that back in a matter of seconds, and you can use that as you're creating new content, which saves time. Today, they have to do that manually. They have to read through the PDFs themselves, read through the websites themselves. They can find that information very rapidly, and we're the only ones who have that capability. Review is our flagship product, and that's a capability of Lara that really simulates what reviewers are doing today. So before you send it to that regulatory lawyer, you can upload that content into Lara, and you're going to get feedback that simulates with 90% accuracy what that lawyer might say. You still need to use your lawyer. We don't want to take on the risks of replacing the lawyer and having that liability. But the idea is that instead of spending a significant amount of time reading that content from scratch, that content is going to be a lot cleaner, a lot better, and more ready to go when that lawyer looks at it, and it can get out in the first review instead of the 5th or the 6th or the 10th. The last capability is one we just launched this October. It's called Relevance. One of the things that happened during the COVID pandemic that we seized the opportunity was that a lot of digital content was hitting HCPs, hitting physicians and even patients, because there were no reps in the field. No one could go visit a doctor and talk about their product. So there's a lot more emails, a lot more e-details. And there was complaints from the industry that the content wasn't relevant. And so we built a solution that our customers are very excited about, again, because Lara will now tell them how relevant is your content to what people want to see. So another way of deploying that core brain, that core technology in 3 different ways, which drives a significant benefit for the end customer. What does that impact look like? 2 targets that we're actually engaging with right now and contracting with. On the left side, actual agencies that do work with pharmaceutical companies, particularly on their fixed price work. So for those companies, because Lara introduces time savings across research, review, and relevance, they are able to, on fixed price projects, reduce the amount of time they have to invest to deliver that advertising and keep the difference. So there's a 12 to 22% margin increase opportunity for agencies. On the pharmaceutical side, for companies that are engaging with their agencies on a more billable, hourly kind of model, they're able to keep the savings. So same core value prop, time reduction, efficiency gain. For agency, if you're fixed price, you get to keep that. If you're pharma and you're not fixed price with your agency, you get to keep the difference. And you can see what those impacts look like from a financial standpoint. The beautiful thing about this is that because we have such a strong business case, we are not seeing any slowdown. In fact, we're seeing more interest as the economy and the macro environment gets more negative. We have a strong financial business case. This is not just a nice to have solution. That has driven some significant marquee traction. We are post-revenue. We signed an early pilot earlier this year with this mid-sized biotech, $1.8 billion. We literally last week signed 10x'd that work. That was a 20,000K pilot earlier this year. We just signed a $210,000 pilot with a large marketing agency, the one I mentioned in terms of driving their margin increase. They're looking to see significant margin increase from working with us. That pilot is for all 3 products, and it's only for 4 months. So not even a 1-year agreement, already at 210K. We also have others in the pipeline. We are starting work in January with a $56 billion pharma company. They want to use all our products across 80 of their drugs. So significant engagement and traction there, even just from these initial customer agreements. We're looking at a significant amount of revenue going into 2023. We do have some competition. What we have noticed from the fact that we are talking to these large companies and they are telling us about the conversations they're having as they are doing their shopping is that there is a significant gap between us and our closest competitor, that we're doing more of the tasks. And again, all of those tasks have to be done. They're not optional. And so because our AI is covering more ground, they are seeing a stronger business case, which is why they're picking and going with Lithero, even against larger companies. Again, 3 products. This is how we price our products. The flagship product that drives the most revenue is our review platform. There is an implementation fee for that of $75,000. Again, we just signed a contract for 2 brands on that. So the majority of that 210 is the implementation. We also are looking at research and relevance. Those are 2 other platforms that we're getting interest in. That's a fixed monthly fee, but a rather nice margins on those, because again, this is one product. We're literally taking the core brain and selling it in 3 different ways, and making good margins on that. One of the things that our customers really like is that we can deploy very quickly. So 3 days to set up relevance or research, and only a month to set up review, which again, they start to realize value right away. That drives, over the course of our financial projections, 80% gross margins, ACV around 150K. That's after that implementation. Our exit strategy, which we're looking at probably in the 2025 timeframe, is probably an acquisition. We've already gotten some interest and some questions about potentially what that might look like. We think that we want to hold out a little bit longer and get a better return for our investors. But it's good that some of our strategic partners, one on the consulting side, one on the agency side, have already expressed interest in potentially looking at what it might look like to bring us in-house. From a round standpoint, we set out earlier to raise just $875 in this pre-seed round. We've gotten a significant amount of interest and are expanding that round by $800K. It is a convertible note. The lead is a gentleman named Donald Graham. You might recognize. He was a former owner of the Washington Post. 8% interest, 20% discount with a $1 million trigger. The focus is in 3 areas in terms of the use of funds: expand our engineering team, do some marketing and PR, and make sure we deliver really well customer service. I'm going to hire a CSM, customer support manager, success manager rather. From a couple of details, our corporate structure, we are structured as an LLC. We are open to conversion at the time of doing an equity round. Our IP strategy is a trade secret approach, and happy to answer questions about that. In the AI space, it's a more prudent strategy than trying to go for a patent, given how fast things are changing and different approaches of accomplishing things. That's it, and happy to take in your questions. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you, Nairon. Very informative. I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A section, but if anyone has any, please feel free to add them. And just generally, Nairon, any what can the MADV team and participants here do to help the company if get the ball rolling?
Sure. I think given this industry is very concentrated in the Mid-Atlantic area, I suspect given the network of the individuals in MADV, that certainly you might have folks in your network you can introduce us to, right, on the commercial side of large life sciences companies. Those are very busy people, and so a warm introduction certainly helps. So that's probably the thing you can do, apart from, of course, the investment.
Wonderful. And I see a couple questions coming in.
Great.
And I'll try and field them. One question, do you have any liability, or talk about liabilities?
Liabilities in terms of legal liabilities, is that the idea, or you mean like risks?
Yeah, I think probably what's the financial landscape look like currently with the company in terms of liabilities, and yeah, sure, I think a color on kind of regulatory or operational or different liabilities of that aspects are certainly helpful to understand as well.
Sure. I think our profile looks similar to most early stage companies. You've got the convertible notes is a debt. We have some other debts from to the founders, to our lead investors, those kind of things. Happy to go through that in due diligence. If the general question is more sort of what are the key risks, I think honestly the thing that keeps me up at night is just making sure we have the resources to deliver. These large companies are great, large contracts, right? Getting a $200,000 pilot is wonderful, but that's a very demanding customer. I'm actually going to have to step out a little bit early to meet with that customer. And it's our third meeting this week, right? So large companies are going to pay you, but they also want to make sure they're well serviced. So just making sure we have the resources to hire and to be responsive to these customers is probably the thing that keeps me up at night. Hence why I'm here raising money.
That's right. That's right. I get it. Any color on the revenue projections for 2025 and anything else you could talk about with respect to the acquisition offer you already received or mentioned?
Yeah. So
Understanding there may be some confidentiality or other requirements there, but whatever you can
yeah,
tell us there.
yeah, and that's not a formal offer. It's a verbal offer. A sort of, hey, we want to look at buying you because we believe that you're going to be helpful to our business and to our margins. So we've gotten a interest from a large consultancy, not Accenture, another one, and actually the same marketing agency that we just signed the contract with. They've made the same offer, and we're discussing a strategic alliance. I'm actually meeting with the CEO at 1:00 today to talk about what our alliance might look like, and part of that is they wanted to make sure they had a right of notification related to any equity raises or if we're going to sell the company because they want to be first in line. So that interest, that the strength of that interest directly from the CEO of a $15 billion company, that says to me we're doing something right. Like there is a high likelihood and a probability that we're going to be able to hit our target of an acquisition. I'm targeting the 2025 time frame because I think at that point we're going to be generating enough revenue where we can do an average multiple and return a significant return to our investors and to our team. Doing that now, I don't think that would be. It might work out well for us, but I think life changing for us. But I don't know that it's going to be pretty transformative for our investors. So I want to make sure that we're doing a good job from a fiduciary standpoint to not get too excited about those offers, but generate the revenue so we can get the right multiple and make everybody happy.
Wonderful. And I think we've got time for one more here. Maybe you could talk a little bit about, for a typical engagement, what's the breakdown between kind of human work and AI and how you
Sure.
envision kind of scalability on that front?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's I would say right now, and this will change. I would say it's like an 80-20 split where the AI is doing most of the work. We are very, very laser focused on customer satisfaction, right? I think those, even when I was at Accenture, when you get a new client in a new area, you want to make sure you get a really good case study. So we're investing rather significantly. We're doing extra testing and extra QA just to make sure that there's nothing. In fact, I was meeting with Dr. Morton yesterday and I said, hey, we have to make sure that we are absolutely the most critical people when it comes to Lara, right? That we need to be way harder on ourselves in the product than they are going to be on the product. So we're investing significantly up front. I think over the next 2 years or so, the amount of manual effort, mainly around quality assurance, will transition to some automated tools. We've actually invested in building some automated QA tools that are working and do help. We're just adding in that extra layer because we want to be a bit paranoid about it. So we're already in a position where I think we could deploy Lara with maybe a 95% resource mix, but I don't want to do that right now. I want to be extra careful to make sure that we deliver just an exceptionally good, well done customer experience.
Wonderful. Lindsay or Ellen, I certainly don't want to cut anyone short as we've got some great questions here, but I want to keep us on time and I wasn't seeing kind of a clock for the Q&A session. So thank you, Ellen.
Okay, I can help you. So I'll give you like a 5-minute thing next time. but it's time to bring the next presenter on.
That was my gut. So thank you, Dairon. Very, very helpful presentation. Very much enjoyed it. And thank you everyone for the great questions. Next up is Bill Breitenbach of Oral BioLife. Come on up.
Okay, can you see my screen? Hello?
I can see it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. So thanks, everybody. A pleasure being here today. My name is Bill Breitenbach. I'm the CEO of Oral BioLife. And we're truly blessed to be able to bring what we think will be the next generation of dental care to market. And that product is piezo gel. And that is born out of Temple University for the treatment of periodontal disease. You may be asking why periodontal disease. And first and foremost, it's because a lot of people suffer from periodontal disease. It impacts over 50% of the global adult population. And that translates into roughly 65 million adults here in the US. Most people are familiar with the left side of the screen, receding gums, bone loss, loosening of teeth and falling out. But really what we want to make sure that we're educating people about is the negative impact that it has on the overall health. As you can see, there's a higher risk of osteoporosis, a higher risk of stroke, heart disease, diabetes, worsening COPD, and even a higher risk of oral and pancreatic cancer. So to talk a little bit about the pathology of periodontal disease, you can see the middle picture here, the redness of the gums, basically a lack of good oral hygiene, not flossing, maybe a brushing of teeth. Bacteria gets between the tooth and the gums. It leads to the formations of biofilms, which are really hard encapsulations of bacteria. Plaque, most people know it as plaque. It creates inflammation, and then you get the receding of the gums. You get them pulling away. That creates pockets on the tooth, and ultimately it leads to bone loss. So that's the kind of the quick pathology of periodontal disease. Unfortunately, what's going on right now and the standard of care today is painful, and it's really limited in its effectiveness. Scaling and root planing is what typically happens when you get to the moderate to severe diagnosis of periodontal disease. They're adding antibiotics to help kill the bacteria. Of course, Arestin is the market leader at this point. But at the end of the day, the challenge is that while it's helping a little bit, it's not regenerating bone tissue. It's not reversing the damage of what's taking place after periodontal disease has had an opportunity to really establish itself. It's ineffective in moderate to severe periodontitis. You can see it's ineffective against biofilms, and there's always that growing concern about the increased risk of resistance to antibiotics. So what our scientific founder has been able to do is really harness the power of piezoelectric materials, which is the ability of certain materials to generate an electrical charge in response to applied mechanical stress. And these are natural occurring materials. You can see in sugarcane, quartz, topaz, even our bone has these properties. And what happens in effect when there is pressure applied, or in our case, as people are talking or they're chewing, that vibration is creating an electrical charge, which is creating an antibacterial effect and a bone restoration effect. The product is piezo gel. It is gelatin combined with these piezoelectric fillers. It's an off-the-shelf applicator that will be brought to market. You can see that the product is applied between the tooth and the gum. It adheres nicely into that pocket, and it is cured by the light that the dentists are currently using. And so what separates us so much and makes us clearly different is the fact that these electrical charges that are being generated, because people continue to talk, of course, are regenerating the bone. And the flip side of that is it's disrupting the bacteria film. So clearly different than anything that's on the market today. It fits very nicely into the current dental practice. Dentists are used to using syringes, if you will, to apply types of products similar to this. So I share that with you because it fits in nicely, and there'll be very, very little training involved when we do bring the product to market. From a marketing opportunity, if you look at Western Europe and the US, you've got roughly a $3 billion market opportunity. In the US, that's almost $2 billion. We plan on focusing immediately in the severe position. You can see there's 13 million patients here in the US for that. At a comparable price to Arestin, if we're able to capture 10% of that market, you're looking at a first year sales of roughly $40 million, but we don't expect to be coming to the market with a comparable price, because we can really highlight the fact that we are restoring bone growth. And in some cases, you could argue that we are preventing periodontal disease. We expect a price premium for piezo gel when we bring this to market. Our commercial approach, we've talked to several periodontists and dentists. They all agree that we should be talking to both of those groups, the specialists to have them on board as advocates, but also to the general dentist, because it's easy to use. It does have a preventative nature. And of course, we're restoring bone growth. That will also be a significant incremental value to the general dentist population, if you will. From a distributors and manufacturers perspective, we've already engaged with Henry Schein and also with Dentsply. We want to leverage relationships with those key manufacturers and distributors to help create and accelerate awareness of our product and help educate the dental population about our product. And of course, when the time is right, we'll be exploring partnership opportunities with the manufacturers. From a patient perspective, the idea is to really avoid surgery, to get rid of the need to have bone grafting, and hopefully get to the point where you're really starting to eliminate the need for scaling and root planing. For the patient, that would mean fewer follow-up visits, less pain, and of course, lower cost. And then on the reimbursement side of things, there's already a reimbursement code specifically for antimicrobial agents. So that's a good step for us as we come to market and are dealing with market access opportunities. From an IP perspective, we have broad protection, which will be a significant barrier to our competition. Right now, it covers any composite comprising of resin matrix or piezoelectric materials or particles, if you will. This is really good for us because it will allow us to go to other dental applications, particularly in the restorative space. We're looking to expand into fillers, implants, and even sealants as we get further in to develop our pipeline. And then from an international perspective, there have been no conflicts by the International Searching Authority at this point. Some of the key milestones, you can see what we've been able to complete on the left side of the slide. What we're asking for is a pre-seed round of $2 million to continue to build out our in vitro and in vivo work. Our in vivo work to date has, as I said, demonstrated that we regrow bone, quality bone, eliminate the pockets between the teeth and gums, and also reduce the inflammation. We want to take that mouse data and reproduce that in canine studies and also do some leaching work with that. We're in the process of actually signing a CDMO. We've identified one already, and we're working to identify a CRO so we can start this work in early 2023. Next, we are looking for a seed round of 5.5, which will help us establish clinical trials late in 23 into 24. The plan is to submit to the FDA in early 24 for a 510K pathway for an approval in early 2025. And with that seed money, we are looking to obviously increase our manufacturing capability, start to build out the commercialization team, and then explore some partnerships. The goal here is to launch, as I said, in early 2025, and we're shooting for a January 2025 launch. From a deal perspective, we are looking at a safe note for that $2 million, roughly at a 15% discount. And we've also are in some conversations with a convertible note, and we would entertain a convertible note at a 15% discount at this point in time as well. From an exit strategy, we've already have some seed money coming from a QED grant, and we're looking to close the deal before the end of 2022. We expect the valuation to increase significantly as we do have an IP platform that will allow us to leverage multiple applications, if you will, in the dental and the orthopedic space with this technology. And we're looking to potentially exit sometime in 2026. We would expect that to be an acquisition, but similar to the last presenter, we're not in any hurry to be purchased. We want to make sure that we're bringing the most value to our investors. we'll explore partnerships, but given the pipeline that we think we have, we're happy to play this out and also see if IPO makes sense for us. The team matters, and we have a very, very extensively experienced team. Stella Vanook is our president and founder. She has got large and small pharmaceutical experience and has successfully exited 7 organizations, startup organizations. So she brings a wealth of experience. Both Ken and myself bring over 25 years of pharmaceutical experience. Ken in the larger side of the business, but also in venture capital. I've been in both small and medium-sized pharmaceutical companies, and I've been a part of 2 startups. I've also been a part of 13 launches across my career, both in sales, marketing, and market access. And I've led multiple launches at Novo Nordisk as their VP of marketing and as a VP of their biopharm group. Our CFO brings 30 years of private equity experiences and is our CFO. And our scientific founder is Santiago Orrego. He's a PhD inventor and professor at the College of Engineering and Dentistry. He has his PhD in biomechanical engineering and is the brainchild of bringing both of these materials together to really provide a very unique, differentiated option for periodontal disease. So in summary, we've identified a very clear global unmet medical need that's a significant market opportunity of north of $3 billion. We have very strong preclinical data, proof of concept in vivo in the mouse. We're asking for this raise to help us take that and reproduce those results in a canine study. We have a secure 510K pathway with a predicate device, strong IP. We've got interested in potential partners. And as I've just mentioned, we do feel that we've got adjacent dental applications in fillings, implants, and root canals. So with that, I appreciate the opportunity to present, and I'll entertain questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bill. And I'll just make my way into some of the questions here. First off, just please confirm you're raising 5.5 million on the seed round as a safe. Is it pre-money of 10 million? Is that right?
That would be correct. It is pre-money at that 10 million mark. Yes.
Got it. Thank you. Could you describe or talk about a bit the manufacturing challenges, if at all, at this point?
Yeah, I can't go into great detail, but we are in discussions with the CDMO, and at this point, they're very, very small doses, but it doesn't appear that there's really going to be major challenges with the manufacturing process. The GELMA is very well known in the pharmaceutical industry, so manufacturers are familiar with that. The ability to provide the nanoparticles in there is just a matter of making sure that they're consistent in each of those doses. And right now, based on what we've been able to look at, we should be able to do that. So manufacturing doesn't appear to be a huge challenge for us at this point. And I think the other aspect of that is that we don't have to develop a device per se. We're able to use off-the-shelf syringe for an easy application, which again, will require very little training for the dentist or the periodontist.
Got it. And another question was perhaps you could talk a bit about the regulatory landscape and your regulatory strategy a bit.
Yes, we've just hired a regulatory consultant on board. Based on the fact that there's a predicate device, we feel like we'll be able to go through the 510K pathway. It should be identified as a device. So we're expecting to be able to submit to the FDA in early, let's say mid 2024 with an 8 to 10 month pathway following the 510K pathway at this point in time. Additionally, I would share with the group is that we plan on having a meeting with the FDA sometime probably mid next year to make sure that we are addressing and putting questions forward to the FDA so that as we get into our clinical work, we can ensure that we're addressing the questions that we expect from them as we get into the full-blown regulatory process, if you will. So we're not going to go in blind. We're going to make sure that there's conversations with the FDA prior to our 510K submission.
Got it.
The timer. So that was the last question. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Bill. Very, very much appreciate you taking the time to teach us a bit about the company. Very, very exciting.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Our next presenter is Kirtha Parshmuran of Vital Start Health. Please come on up and present.
It's great to be here. Hi, everyone. I'm Kirtika Parmeshwaran, and this is our co-founder, Dr. John Cho. We'll just get started now. So excited to share what we're doing. Are you able to see my screen? We've all heard of the 4 vital signs: pulse, respiratory rate, body temperature, and body pressure. Today, I'll be unveiling the 5th, the vital sign for well-being, a digital signature by Vital Start. Our vision is to be a Web 3.0 company that is driving optimal mental health across acute and chronic conditions, beginning with maternal mental health. Everybody wants to hold the baby, but who holds the mom? That's the question we are addressing at Vital Start Health. We all know someone with a tough pregnancy or postpartum, but it's just hard to believe that moms are dying in the US, and this number is growing year over year. And these deaths are preventable. There's been a rise in pregnancy complications, both during pregnancy as well as for childbirthing. And according to Mathematica, it takes 19,000 per mother for perinatal mood and anxiety disorders treatment, and it can take up to 5 years. We want to disrupt this completely. I'm passionate about this because I've personally been through postpartum depression and come face to face with the stigma, anxiety, and the indiscrepancies in the healthcare system. Our award-winning, patent-pending platform addresses this squarely and provides a safe environment for mothers that are going through reproductive as well as the maternity journey by helping them gain the skills that they need to go through this journey. And we have a curriculum and program that we have developed with stress reduction and stress inoculation, a content that we have developed, some we have licensed from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, a telehealth platform with analytics, the vital sign for well-being profile, which provides a longitudinal scorecard to a practitioner who can then provide the right treatment at the right time. We also have a network of care coordinators, coaches, as well as psychologists who would actually be customers to our platform. The low-cost mobile VR headset is thrown in as part of our platform. And, the idea is we want to grow the lifetime value with our parents as they go through multiple pregnancies. We do not need any FDA certification because we have a human in the loop and there are predicates of XR use in this space as well. We have a 5% health equity give back. This is a core value of our company: health equity, quality, and efficacy, and a vision of impacting 1 million mothers by 2030. We have won numerous awards, raised our pre-seed round, and we are now at 365,000 in funding. And, supported by a phenomenal team. Hi, everyone. I'm Kirtika Parmeshwaran, reintroducing myself here. But I'm a Wharton alum with deep expertise across business and technology, began with R&D and completely moved on to the business side, reporting to the CTO and really driving new change and product innovation. I'm joined by Dr. John Cho, who's a neonatal quality officer at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and an associate professor at Penn Medicine. We are a University of Pennsylvania company supported by the Science Center, Drexel, also part of the Microsoft for Startups. And we have a phenomenal set of talent that's joining the company once we raise our seed, and great set of advisors who have been guiding us throughout this process. We're going after a phenomenal opportunity here: $50 billion globally, $19 billion in the US alone. And our beachhead will be the high-risk pregnancy and the NICU stay initially, which is $680 million. And we all began by looking at why we needed to do this. John, I'll let you take over.
So perinatal mood and anxiety disorder is something that is included with the anxiety and the stress that parents feel. Anxiety, depression, stress are all sort of under this umbrella form. And the American Psychological Association has actually recommended and endorsed the use of virtual reality as a modality for which to help manage the these mental health conditions. Why VR? Well, yeah, that's the question we asked as well. So we validated some of our initial assumptions with a family council focus group at a leading NICU in Philadelphia. And the preference was overwhelmingly virtual reality over a 2D experience. They felt that it was more real, and they felt that it brought them back to actually feel the things that they were feeling at the time. We also followed it with a NICU parent survey in collaboration with the Superheroes Project Foundation. And there was a huge acknowledgement that the lack of wellness support still exists in the NICU journey for many of these parents, including fathers, and that some of these feelings of anxiety and stress actually stay with them for a number of years, even after the NICU experience, some up to about 10 to 15 years after that. We did an initial feasibility study in the NICU, and we saw that there was a trend towards traumatic trauma and PTSD reduction. There's a high likelihood of using this modality, high ease of use, as well as the ability to talk to the therapist while using the system. So many of the subjects in this feasibility study felt that having someone there, a real human being, was very, very important and helpful. And we are now embarking on a larger full study at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. We also did a coaching pilot study separate from this study, and it showed a 20% reduction in stress and anxiety levels pre and post these sessions. There was also a high endorsement by the users in terms of relieving their stress and learning new techniques, as well as better sleep quality. We have client and practitioner testimonials, as you can see here as well. And this is taking the client through the evidence-based care journey. So what is that actually? So when the coaches and therapists use our platform and enroll their clients, the first thing that the clients get to do is to complete an assessment form. These assessment forms measure their levels of anxiety, stress, and this data is aggregated into a well-being profile, which is something that VitalStart created. This is a visualization of the data so that the coach or the therapist can see and track the progress of their clients. Using the system, what they do is they use stress inoculation training, and what they do is they have the clients practice relaxation, but also stress mitigation techniques that is much more than just relaxation. And they do this under a virtual environment. What's important to hear after this is that they then take the things that are stresses for the client, and they actually, we have videos that are related to those, and then they put the clients into those VR environments so that they can practice what they've learned with the help of a guide, of a coach, as well as or a therapist. Next, please. So we have a library of these virtual reality videos that is targeted to these stressors. We also have material related mental health assessments that are validated tools to measure anxiety, trauma, and stress. We also have a whole host of digital toolkits and education. Our intellectual properties includes some of these assets, the well-being profile. We have a patent pending currently on the well-being profile, and we are developing a sequencer so that the therapist or the coach can take these video clips and then stitch them together into a sequence that is most customized to their clients.
Another neat thing that we've done, thank you so much, John, is we hired actors and built a NICU tour with psychoeducation inbuilt. That is something truly novel and something we're going to be testing out now with some of our patients as well. We're looking to really have our customers will be enterprise B2B, like the health systems, the NICUs, maternal fetal medicine departments, employers, pharma, payers. We're talking with all of these, so currently we have ongoing talks with Ferring Pharmaceuticals, Haleon. Just 2 days ago, we demoed our platform to Morgan Health, which is part of JP Morgan, as well as we are getting a lot of interest from provider and health systems as well. So ongoing demos and looking at innovation pilots. The other side of this is because we have that health equity focus and, to be able to have that breadth and accessibility, we're looking at partnerships, B2B2C, through OB-GYN clinics. Axia Health is another person there, another company in that space, Adventure and others, perinatal providers, mommy groups, doula networks. We're going to be onboarding an ex-president of Postpartum Support International onto advisory board, who's going to open all those doors for us. So we're really looking to go after both of these, but B2B is going to be where the volume is, and that's our core focus currently. As we look to drive better outcomes for our patients, whether it's in a group setting, in an individual setting, whether you're a birthing person, caregiver, we want to be there for you right from fertility through conception, birthing, and postpartum. Our platform drives value beyond outcomes, ratings, patient engagement, driving down healthcare use and costs, being the digital companion adjunct to pharmacotherapy, and driving up productivity as well. So we're looking to metrics and do studies even on those right now. A go-to-market strategy begins with innovation pilots and really looking to get into OB-GYN clinics and others as part of the referrals and screening processes, because we know that now there are new reimbursement codes that enable an OB-GYN to get further reimbursement by using an online screening technique, which is part of our platform. There's now a VR therapy reimbursement code that's coming up in 2023. That's going to be a game changer. And that's going to really help us go deeper into this market and go faster into the market. We're going to be building our own training, VR for Perinatal Wellness Program, which is what we are onboarding folks into the advisory board for. And then looking at reseller partnerships, we currently have partnerships with Microsoft for startups, Happy Mama, which is a remote patient monitoring platform. We're looking at Superhero Project and many other partners in the perinatal behavioral health spaces, employer broker spaces as well, as we go after this in a big way starting from 2023 and looking to drive value, to reach $46 million by 2026. Our business model is a SaaS one. So we have basic, which is content only, content plus platform, which is our advanced model, content, platform, and staff, which is the premium model. So, I was at the Bay Area a year or so ago, and the hospital systems there told me, wow, this is phenomenal, but we don't have the staff to do this. So that's when we had that aha moment, and now we've built out that complete managed service aspect of this, so we can just go in and provide all that is needed. For the perinatal and behavioral health providers, we're more like a good therapy of kind, where they join us for a monthly subscription. And as they onboard their clients onto our platform, they're paying on a seat basis, and they can upsell that if they want to. We also have a strong focus on innovation. We want to build this forum with practitioners, patient scientists, so that we can continuously drive value through Vital Start. And with employers, pharmaceuticals, and payers, we have the retail model already set up because we began with B2C. We acquired customers, but now what we're trying to do is, because it's so expensive for a startup to continue that route, we've paused that and we're looking strongly at B2B. But because we've set up the retail model packages for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, following the maternity journey, that's really easily usable by our employer, pharma, and payer customers. Many ways to do mental health, especially women's mental health. But what we are doing uniquely is driving, efficacy and effectiveness through that VR, and looking at this from the continuum, right from preconception through birth and postpartum, having that human in the loop, because mothers are really vulnerable. Being through this myself, I can't imagine being thrown a robot and told, wow, now figure this out. So you need that human in the loop guiding you, but of course, in a balanced way, keeping the cost of sales in mind, but doing that in a way that can drive outcomes. We have both self-guided, coach-guided, and then if you cross the diagnostic threshold, psychotherapist-guided care. I'm here today asking you for investment into our company. We are at this amazing stage. We have enormous momentum and traction, a lot of interest in demos and taking this further. This is the right timing with mental health right out of the pandemic, femtech. There's a huge need with what has been happening this year with the Roe v. Wade ruling as well. And the VR therapy reimbursement is going to really be that game changer that we need. What we have is a unique platform that is scalable beyond maternity into other areas as well. And we have a strong exit potential. Last year, Uvia Health was acquired by LabCorp. So we see ourselves similarly fitting into those kind of spaces, being so targeted that we fit in with existing Teladocs of the world, Maven Clinics of the world, LabCorp, BioReferences of the world, and other players who are looking at this, even pharmaceuticals as they look at a digital companion along with pharmacotherapy. We want your support to drive value and become that vital sign for maternal well-being. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Krithika. We don't have time for Q&A, but please feel free to join her at the table during networking and ask questions. And also, they'll look at the Q&A and can respond online. So thank you very much. Brian, thank you very much for being our MC for the first half. And now at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Glenn Gaddy. Glenn? John, if you can turn your camera off and your mic off. Thank you. Glenn? Okay, well, I will go ahead and introduce the next presenter. It's Miles Powell of 8 Miles. So Miles, come on up.
Okay, let me get my presentation up to. There you go. All right. Good. Hi, everyone. I want to start with actually an exercise. And if you can, I'd like for you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine you're sitting at the dinner table surrounded by loved ones. You're sharing your favorite meal together and life's problems are paused. You have a fork full of happiness. Now, open your eyes. That very moment is why I'm talking with you right now. My name is Miles. I'm the founder and CEO of 8 Miles, a comfort food brand that is created for memories. Now, unfortunately, 84% of Americans report feeling stressed on a weekly basis. We don't have time to cook. Restaurants are way too expensive, but we still want a home-cooked meal. And millennials and Gen Zs in particular cook a lot less than previous generations. So where do we turn? 8 Miles produces a line of premium, clean, nostalgia-inspired macaroni and cheese. And I'm talking about the kind that many of us grew up with. Now, it's sold frozen for convenience, but without the normal stigma of a frozen food product. It's an American staple, and nostalgic foods have been proven to have a positive impact on mental health. We're at the intersection of nostalgia, quality, and clean ingredients, and our customers absolutely love us. The number one comment that we normally get is, "I can't believe this is a frozen food product." Now, frozen foods are not what they used to be, and that's because the pandemic has kickstarted the entire space. Consumer sentiments have changed in this $17 billion market. Convenience is no longer the only requirement. Our target demographic, yep.
I'm sorry, we can't see your screen.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Let me see. You can see it now? Can you see that now?
We can see it. Thank you.
Okay. I'm not sure that happened.
Miles, yes, we see your screen. You're good.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, our customers love us, and the number one comment we get is, we can't believe this is actually a frozen food product. Now, frozen food's not what it used to be, and that's because the pandemic has kickstarted the entire space. Consumer sentiments, and let me see. Can you still see that? Just want to double check. Okay. So the consumer sentiment has changed, and that's primarily due to what happened with the pandemic. Convenience is no longer the only requirement. Our target demographic, which includes millennials and Gen Zs, are searching for what I call new nostalgia. And they're willing to splurge on a nice meal even when times are tough. And they demand clean label products when they shop. Now, out of this group alone, over 20 million households buy frozen mac and cheese. 8 Miles is here to change the landscape of how we view frozen foods. So the big question is, well, where can I find your products? I'm proud to say that 8 Miles is one of the fastest growing comfort food brands in the United States. We're featured in powerhouse retailers like Sprouts, Whole Foods, Target, and many more. And we're growing at 250% year over year. And as you can see, we expect to close this year close to $500,000 and then grow to over $2 million in sales next year, with the addition of retail expansion and an increase in same-store velocities. In our appendix, I can provide a bit more context into those plans. Now, historically, our gross margins have hovered around 31%, but with the upcoming product innovation and a new co-packer beginning in February of 2023, we'll be at 40%. And there's some more details on those financials as well later in the appendix. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm pretty sure I've seen frozen mac and cheese before. What makes you so different? So remember when I said consumers want clean label, 8 Miles Mac provides just that and more. We actually have the lowest sodium per serving among our competitors, along with utilizing all real milk, all real cheese, without using those harmful and nasty additives and things like food coloring. But here's where we're going to win. As we expand our line next quarter, we'll be introducing unique offerings that you won't find anywhere else on the market, including a Philly cheesesteak mac and shrimp and truffle mac and cheese. Now, I want you to know that less than 3% of the brands that you shop for in grocery stores today are Black owned. We happen to be one of them. With currently 1,200 locations, we're just getting started because consumer packaged goods are just our foot in the door. In addition to releasing new comfort food items outside of mac and cheese, our vision is to be the leader in what I call the comfort food experience. Not just in grocery, I'm talking about partnerships with stadiums, hospitals, universities, airlines, brand partnerships for meal delivery services, and even a fast casual comfort food concept. Now, I'm not talking about a $10 million business. No, we're set to become a $10 billion brand. I want to point something out on this slide as well. I ran 8 Miles part-time for the first 6 years as I continued my work as a civil engineer. But when I quit that job to pursue 8 Miles full-time in October of 2021, we grew 250%. Now, my co-founder and I are onto something truly special. Zana Gotkin has run operations for a number of successful emerging consumer packaged goods brands, and she brought her talent to 8 Miles to help us to continue to our growth and expansion. Along with some key marketing help and a strong advisory board, we bring 75 plus years of experience to the table. Also in our appendix, I lay out what the future organization looks like from a hiring perspective as we continue to grow. And now we're raising money with our seed round to expand our retail presence and build our team and release new products. It's a $1 million round on a convertible note. We've already raised about $250,000 of this money, and we'll be closing this round in January with interest from a variety of VCs and angel investors. We're proud to have received investment and advisement from Andreessen Horowitz, and we're also backed by NewChip along with a number of other angels. Now, there's still time for you to join in this $17 billion market. And before I conclude, I want to actually highlight what that funding plan looks like in the future and a few key investments that have occurred within CPG. So December of 2020, we raised a small friends and family round. But as I mentioned, we're currently in a $1 million seed round with about 25% of that closed. We expect to raise a Series A $4 million round in 2024 with a Series B to come the following year. And we have a target acquisition set for 2028 with companies such as Conagra and Nestle. Now, in the frozen food category in particular, Evol Foods, which produces a line of meals and sides, was acquired by Conagra in 2013 for $48 million, which was 4 years post-inception of that brand. But even outside of frozen, the industry is pretty hot right now. No pun intended. Some of you may be aware, but Cliff Bar was acquired by Mondelez this year for $2.9 billion. And in 2021, Dots Foods was purchased by Hershey's for $1.2 billion. So I want to thank you for your time, and I hope you join our journey. And I'd love to answer any questions you might have as we have more additional details within the appendix. Thanks so much.
Fabulous, Miles. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, pardon my absence to introduce you. I was at the microwave getting lunch. So the big question really is, how quickly can you grow this, given the fact that, you know, refrigerator cases in stores are only so big, right? And to go from, you know, the bottom of the freezer case to the middle of the freezer case is one step, and then, you know, to get the whole door is the next step. What does that mean for you in terms of your growth? You can, you know, dollars, SKUs, you know, whatever you're using to evaluate that.
Sure. And so we definitely, our goal is to have an entire cooler that's dedicated to comfort food. What that looks like is 7 to 10 SKUs. And then it depends on where we're placed, right? We'll have more at other locations depending on where we fit. But our goal is to actually own that space. You see folks like Amy's have done that in the past, where you have about 4 shelves or so.
Okay.
Yep.
When does that happen for you? Is that 2023, 24? I mean, where does that fit with regards to, you just told us when you're raising money. So when does, you know, world domination start?
Right. So that's 2024. And so next year in total, we'll have 5 SKUs on the market. Those will all be centered around mac and cheese. In the following years, when we introduce 2 to 3 new items that are still focused around comfort food.
Okay. That's super. The question that's come up is, next year, how much working capital do you need and how do you plan to support it?
Yep. So the $1 million seed round is to support us for next year. That's going to, like I mentioned, so let me actually go back a bit. The team aspect is really important in that, right? And so we're hiring from a sales side, and some additional operational help. And sales and marketing is huge right now. That's how we really, you know, tell our story to our consumers and work with these retailers on their specific programs that are dedicated to drive that trial to our products and get those customers hooked. And then there is an operational expense piece in there, about 25%, along with product development.
Talk to us a little bit about slotting fees and how they will change as you grow, because obviously I know you've got an opportunity to get in with some discounted slotting fees, at least initially, but long term, that won't, you know, when you're competing with Amy's, they're not necessarily going to give you preference any longer.
Right. So I want to bring up one slide in particular, which talks about, you know, what we're looking to do from a distribution standpoint. So right now, Target and Whole Foods, we are currently in, and we're really utilizing those channels and growing within those, which means we don't have to pay slotting, right? We're already in those doors. We don't pay slotting for adding distribution within those banners. Publix and Albertsons, you know, I'm able to leverage no slotting with Publix through being a minority-owned business, which is great. We're certified. We're going to have the same approach with Albertsons. Now, we have encountered other retailers like Safeway who have approached us, but we declined because, number one, that's not our ideal consumer, and the slotting fee was a little too high. But we do have planned in our 2024 budget for slotting if it comes up.
I'll close with just a curiosity question. How does the Kroger acquisition of Albertsons change you going forward?
You know, it makes it a little more cumbersome to get into within those banners, right? Now it's one giant conglomerate, and so I'm really curious to see where that shapes out. I think I'm still waiting for the chips to fall there. I think for the coming year, our focus is going to be on where we already are, the Targets, the Whole Foods, and the Sprouts. Those are really big businesses, but I do see a change in landscape of how we work with some of the bigger players because of that merger.
Cool. Miles, thank you. Job well done. You can step off stage, and Tom Kramer of Measure Studio can join me.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Tom. Look, the floor is yours. Share your screen. Make sure your slides are up. I'll be quiet in the corner while you do that, and then once I can see them, we'll launch.
Great. Should be live now.
The floor is yours.
Perfect. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. My name's Thomas Kramer. I am co-founder and CEO here at Measure Studio. My co-founder, James, is joined in the audience as well. A little bit about us. We've already built and sold a social media technology company. So what Measure Studio does specifically is social media analytics to help people automate content strategy. So our last company, Paladin, was also in the social media space. It was selling enterprise software for supporting influencer marketing operations. So we're taking what we learned from that experience and taking our knowledge of social media data and infrastructure and applying that to a much larger market. So on Paladin, we bootstrapped that business with a third co-founder. Ultimately, that was acquired by Brandwatch, one of the biggest players in the marketing tech space, earlier this year. So Measure Studio is our second venture. Essentially, the problem we're trying to solve is that content strategy is really complicated and expensive these days, and it's become really difficult for one really simple question, and that is what content is working. And the reasons why this is difficult and expensive are numerous. There's black box algorithms that are distributing your content to people regardless if they follow you or not. This is especially relevant in a post-TikTok world. There's multiple platforms with new formats emerging and changing every day. So, you know, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and just getting all this data in a pile and sussing through it and understanding what actually drove growth or sales on social media is really hard. There's just a lot of data. There's a lot of infrastructure required, and it takes a lot of time to do that. So social media analytics isn't necessarily a new idea. The solutions at market aren't adequate. And the reason why is that the competition is providing data, but they're not providing any type of strategy or insights into like, what do you do with this information? So users today all uniformly need pricey headcount to connect the dots between the pile of data and what they do next with their content strategy. So we think these competitors to three tranches. The first is free native analytics that come with the platform. The problem with this is that data is trapped within each account. So if we are approaching a customer as maybe a house of brands or an agency or a media company with many media brands, they have to go each of these accounts one by one, extract the data and do something with it. There are large incumbent players in the social media space. We call them social in a box tools. So they are solving for data centralization, but they're also solving for a myriad of other solutions like publishing, like collaborating on creating content, audience response inboxes, advertising, and then, you know, data is kind of off to the side and hasn't really been innovated on in a while. The last is people trying to build in-house data solutions, and this can be really expensive. The tools at market for visualizing data don't visualize content, so it's hard to connect the dots as a marketer. What these have in common is there's no analysis and strategy presented to the user. It's just a pile of numbers. So enter Measure Studio. So we are the only AI-enabled social media insights platform. We're actively at market today. We're post-revenue. And what we do is we provide custom benchmarking for each connected social media account. So the flow is a user connects, you know, their YouTube, their TikTok, their Instagram, et cetera. We centralize all that data, and we tell them uniquely to them what content did better than their normal range of performance and what content did poorly. From there, we're using AI computer vision to analyze all images and videos that are on the customer's accounts and then tell them what was actually in the content that worked or didn't work, and also make it really easy for them to slice and dice this and generate reporting. So our big, hairy, audacious goal is to use these two critical inputs, performance and AI categorization, to tell people what they should actually be making. So that's going to be Measure Studio 2.0. That's a big part of our R&D moving forward. Today, we're supporting all the major social media platforms. So that's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, and probably more soon. So again, our product's in market. I mentioned a few of these core features, but that AI content analysis, that allows us to see all kinds of stuff about content, like objects, activities, text, public figures and celebrities, and also the emotions of people who are in the content. Benchmarking, so that's unique to each. And then also picks and shovels features. It just grindy stuff like generating reports for your client or your boss really, really easy. Our model today is enterprise SaaS. So our pricing scales up based on the data footprint of the user. So the more social media accounts they connect, the higher the cost is going to be. We also have add-ons for AI, API solutions, and data mirrors. So we have a lot of specialty customers who use this as a data source primarily. We offer monthly or annual plans. Annual plans are at a discount. And our target market is primarily media, brands, agencies, and sports. So we are targeting the enterprise segment of this. These are folks who have a minimum of 10 or 20 social media accounts, ideally more. Let's talk a little bit about the market. So social media analytics projected to grow from about $5.5 billion today globally to $13 billion by 2026, with a really healthy CAGR of 23%. Again, we're targeting that enterprise segment. So that's what we've identified to be the most lucrative. Like today, have signed some deals opportunistically with individual creators or SMBs or solopreneurs. They're just not driving, growth. Our enterprise customers, are bringing in 10x that revenue. So we're just going to focus on that segment. So here's why we think we're going to win. Existing social tools at our tier tend to cost anywhere from a few $1,000s a year to $50,000 a year. However, they still need that headcount to connect those dots, like I was saying. So, the average content strategist costs $75K a year. Average senior data engineer costs double that. So, we're able to charge more for our product than products in market, but still save customers money by reducing the need for that headcount. The second reason why is all the existing tools are pricing aggressively with a seat-based model. What this is doing is it's minimizing value for the customer. It's creating disincentives for them to upgrade. We want to follow more of the Slack approach where we penetrate entire organizations. So we offer unlimited seats on every plan. Our users today range from the C-suite to sales to marketing to data teams. And that is going to help make us sticky. It's going to help us add utility. And it's going to help us delight customers. So let's talk about those customers. Today, we've had some really solid traction in the brand space, the big media space, and political space. So, our largest customers include Mattel, who's, global toy brand, Barbie, Hot Wheels, all that fun stuff, the BBC, dozens of media brands here in the States. We worked with Biden-Harris campaign as well as the Democratic Party. So all of these folks are active customers. We've also got really positive third-party reviews and are, at the top of our class in terms of customer satisfaction, ease of doing business with, confidence in product direction, all that stuff. And we're already beating Sprout for, deals. So here's where we're at today. We have a great product. We have some good traction with some marquee customers, but we're a small team and we need ammunition in sales and marketing. So from a revenue standpoint, as of today, we're at 221,000 ARR. Our largest enterprise customer is 3K MRR, but we think we can push that all the way up to 10. We did raise a convertible note pre-seed in September of last year from Higher Ground Labs. We're about halfway through that cash with 7 months runway and 44 active subscriptions. So our raise for this Series Seed, we're targeting $1.5 million. And again, that's going to be focused on sales and revenue. So, about half the pie chart here a little over half actually, if we include operations, is just going to be largely geared around headcount. We need a VP of sales who's seasoned either in the media or brand space, a sales executive, an operations manager to help unlock some more of my time on the sales and product side, as well as some minor additional engineering adds. So we want a senior front-end engineer full-time, as well as additional consulting on the AI and math fronts. Based on our current deal size and kind of assuming a model where, each of these sellers ramps up to, 8+ deals a month, we're projecting 54x growth and profitability within 3 years. So by tail end of 2024. This is kind of assuming that, we aren't raising again. This is what happens with, just this round of money. I think it's more likely that, we hit this target for revenue of about $1 million in 2023, and we go out and we raise a Series A and we see these numbers hockey stick in a much bigger way. In terms of exit strategy, we want to pursue the same opportunity we did with Paladin, which is, a market incumbent is going to want to acquire us to catch up on the technology race and to cross-sell to existing customers. So we think there's some significant buy-side opportunities once we hit an ARR milestone of 10 million plus. We think those types of buyers will be similar to folks who courted us for Paladin. So Brandwatch, Hootsuite, Sprinkler, also agency groups who are technology enabled and want to differentiate, and creative tools. So, if we are helping people decide, what to make based on data, we think, tools like Canva, Adobe, some of these emerging AI players are going to be great inputs to a tool like that. So thanks so much for tuning in. Again, our big dream is to reinvent the future of content strategy. So, I'd love to take your questions and talk more about it.
Thank you, Tom. Couple of questions have popped in, and I'll go to one because obviously it was sort of missed, which are, what are the terms of this raise?
Mm-hmm. We haven't specified exact terms yet. So, we recognize it's a little bit of a chaotic environment on the private equity side. So, we're flexible and open to hearing what people propose. Okay.
All investors love that. Investors love to be able to dictate the terms of the deal. So I think that's a great answer.
Sure.
How do you collect data from all these social media platforms? Obviously this is a really disparate input set for you. How do you do that and do that efficiently?
Yeah, so we are an approved API partner with all these platforms, and we've managed to get early access to TikTok's API as well as preferential access to LinkedIn's API. What's great about this is we fall within these platforms' use cases, and they're our partners rather than someone who's going and mass scraping the internet and is subject to things like the cost of scraping or changes to front end that cause downtime in acquiring data. The other benefit of this, we get all this data for free. So, the only thing we're paying for right now is AI processing. All the social media content, all the social media performance data, that comes at no cost to us.
Are you allowed to essentially suggest A/B testing and those sorts of things where you'd have two things, or does that lie outside of where you would operate?
Mm-hmm. A/B testing on social is a little bit challenging in that most of the platforms only allow you to publish something once, right? But where I want to recommend things specifically is like, how do we identify these correlations between really good performance and what was actually in the content and surface that to users? And this is very much possible today. Like if you go into some of these, chat bots that have been in the news, for example, if I sat there and said, give me 10 ideas for an Instagram reel that contains, XYZ things from one of my clients' data, it'll spit out a bunch of like great content concepts. So, we want to do something similar, present this strategy to the client, show them, hey, you posted, 3 of these, Instagram reels that we suggested. This was that performance. Click a button, share it with your boss, share it with your client. So, we want to close that loop with reinforcing content with data.
Okay, that's cool. I think the last question I have here is, can you extend this to podcasters and others that are a little bit further afield from straight up social media?
Mm-hmm. Podcasting is interesting in that a lot of podcasting platforms are like, it's very disparate, right? Like there's no one ubiquitous source of podcast consumption. Some of them provide data, some of them don't. I think there are opportunities to get data from the ones that do. Right now, we're actually expanding into paid media data. So like we just added support for boosted Instagram posts. We're working on YouTube and TikTok now. So I think once we get advertising data, I think that's super saleable to the agency sector. And, you know, there's other stuff we can explore like web, like e-commerce purchases, and like tying the whole funnel together.
Cool. Thank you. You can step aside. Everybody find Thomas at his table afterwards with additional questions. But Thomas, you can leave the stage, and I will introduce Marco Barnes of Safety Paws. Marco, can you join me, please? Ah, there you are. Marco.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, and we can see your screen, but you're not full screened.
Yeah, I'm going to change that in a second here. Just wanted to make sure you could hear me.
Yep, I can hear you just fine. We can see the screen. You go full screen. It's all yours. I'll see you in a few minutes.
Sounds great. Well, good morning, everyone. Excited to be here. I want to start by thanking our MADV coaches, Kate and Harvey. Really appreciate the time and feedback. My name is Marco Barnes. I am an inventor, and I am a founder of Safety Paws. I'm joined by my co-founder, Weaver Simmons. We're here to share something with you that you've never seen before. I want to talk to you about investing in me, investing in my team, and in the company that's bringing to market the most important and innovative and disruptive pet care product to hit the market, maybe ever. You know, pet nail clipping is a bit of a sensitive subject for pet owners and grooming professionals. It is dangerous and it's expensive. The claws of animals contain blood and nerves, and if we get it wrong, if pet owners or professionals get it wrong, the animal's left bleeding, injured, and or traumatized. There are 106 million cats and dogs in the US, and there is not one effective nail clipping product on the market that offers a quiet or a fast and safe solution to this problem. Now, many attempt to cut their pet's nails on their own or try to avoid this danger by getting in the car, traveling to the vet or the groomer once every 1 to 2 months and paying $20 a visit. But even experienced professionals make mistakes. So this is a truly one-of-one technology solution with a very simple user interface. We're using infrared light technology to scan for blood and nerves in the claw, and a nail cutting technology that does not exist anywhere in the world. Now, we have aggressively pursued patent protections on every aspect of this device. The first of our patents and trademarks have already been issued in several domestic and international jurisdictions. Here's how the device works. You turn the device on, it lights up red, it's locked, so even if you press the button, it's not going to cut. That's a safety feature, but it's ready to scan. You put your nail into the hole, the device scans the nail, the device illuminates green. When it detects a nail with no blood and nerves, you press the button and it cuts, and that's it. Now, in the market for nail clippers, there were only 2 options: Dremels and manual scissor cutters. You know, the Dremels are power tools. Let's be honest, that they produce a really troubling sound and a vibration, and they take too long to grind the nail. The scissor clippers, although they're quicker, they're really dangerous. They're extremely dangerous, and even for experienced professionals. Our device is nothing like either of those 2. Our product is safe. It reduces stress on both sides of the leash, and it saves time and money. Now, the market for pet care products is really robust with a lot of growth opportunities. As I mentioned, there are over 106 million dogs and cats in the US alone. We are not, of course, limited by geography, but Our target market in the United States is conservatively estimated at 15%. However, we know that 46% of pet households own pet nails, and those buyers typically favor major superstore outlets for those purchases. To be clear, we are targeting both consumers who have this pet nail clipping products, and many times it's more than one, and those who don't, who've just been afraid to even try it because the products are so ineffective. So this is our business strategy. We are focused primarily on those B2B superstore outlets. We already have orders from Walmart and Chewy. They actually called us after we won the New Product Showcase Award at SuperZoo. They are only waiting for us to confirm 7-day delivery from our launch date. So we intend to continue building awareness and community through those B2B platforms, through joint branding and banner campaigns with those partners, but also through social media, our website, and independent pet retail outlets. Lastly, in terms of supply, our strategy for ensuring supply has been since the beginning, always diversifying our electrical components and our manufacturing vendors, and across domestic and international sources. We have both US and Chinese manufacturing and component sourcing solutions. So on the revenue side, our cost of goods at volume has been priced by our manufacturing partners at $20 a unit. Wholesale orders at volume will be between $40 to $50 with an MSRP of about $75. And a focus, as we mentioned earlier, on B2B as a larger percentage, at least initially, of our overall sales. So with over 600 million pets in the US alone, we're projecting 54,000 units sold next year in 2023, growing to 208,000 by 2025. For context, 54,000 units is only 0.05% of our target US market. And in 2025, our forecasted sales are only 0.2% of our targeted US market. So we can meet our projected revenue of 3.8 million on 54,000 units in 2023 if we did nothing else besides work the orders from Walmart and Chewy that we currently have, with 25 additional orders from both Walmart and Chewy for 1,000 units. Now, for additional context, over 200,000 pet nail clippers are sold on Amazon each month. Nevertheless, we're going to continue diversifying our B2B sales targets by expanding to Petco and PetSmart and other superstore channels in 2023. We have very strong profit margins at around 45 to 55%. That will only increase with additional sales. Our management structure is fairly flat at this stage, with a team of primarily 3 full-time and part-time team members. Myself leading development, we were supporting operations and marketing, Aisha primarily managing our patent portfolio with Cooley as our outside counsel. This team includes the best, including our advisors, that the consumer and pet products industry has to offer. Everyone has substantial experience across all aspects of our business, from technology to manufacturing to marketing and distribution. Our development team, also very talented, comprises experienced and talented engineers and scientists and other professionals who, we're currently 1099ing them, but they will transition at the appropriate time. So we're currently raising $2 million through convertible notes or direct equity investments to fund further development, infrastructure, and legal costs, primarily associated with our patent portfolio. Your investment will be funding really final testing, calibration, software adjustments, and tooling as we prepare to ship our first orders early next year. We're projecting a 2-year runway with Series A at end of 2024. Now, as we deliver on this strategy, we will have a number of options to pursue very natural and complementary products and services that offer additional value for our customers and additional value for our shareholders. Most of them based on the same technology we use to make the S1 pet nail clipper, namely infrared, light, Bluetooth technologies. We're projecting a 5-year exit strategy with strategic and financial or industry acquisition opportunities at year 5, comparable to other one-of-one pet product innovations in this space, such as the Furminator. Now, the Furminator pet brush was founded in 2003 by a husband and wife team, Angela and David Porter, out of St. Louis, Missouri. Similar to the S1 Pet nail clipper, it's a single one-of-one, single product innovation, completely different from every other product in that category. It sells, it's probably important to note that it sells for $50, which is 5 times the average MSRP for a dog or cat brush in stores. In 2007, they sold that business for $50 million to HKW Capital Partners. That's 4 years after founding. 4 years after they sold it to HKW sells it to Spectrum Brands for $140 million, where revenues were about $50 million. That's about 1.2 million units on average for that business. Now, we want to offer comparable value to like-minded investors who are equally attracted to problem solving, innovation, and really just achieving outsized growth on an accelerated timeline. We just really appreciate the opportunity to present to you today. Of course, we're available to continue the conversation and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Marco. Job well done.
Thank you.
The initial questions that have come in around 2 things. So I'll give you both of them, and then you can decide how you want to answer it. One is around the IP.
Yeah.
And knocking it off in China. And the other is, if you're sourcing out of China, the supply chain, is it broken? Do you have redundancy elsewhere in the world? So take all of that, because, you know, at the core of both of those questions is China.
Yeah, so I guess a couple things. One, you know, we've got over 12 patents and trademarks filed in 156 jurisdictions, and so we have a very robust patent portfolio that includes China and, you know, other jurisdictions. 2, you know, in terms of knockoffs, that's something that we've been, of course, discussing since the very beginning. You typically see those things with like plastic cups and things that are not so engineering intensive, right? And so in our case, it's less likely, just because from the software and the firmware to what we're doing with the firing of the electronics for the device that cuts our nail, these just aren't things you can easily duplicate. We're doing some very unique things with the metallurgy. We're doing some very unique things with the firing of electronics. It's not obvious if you just open up the device exactly what that is. And so we feel pretty comfortable with our ability to protect against knockoffs, formally through our patents, but also just through our design.
Okay, talk to us about supply chain. Talk to us about getting it actually manufactured and on the shelves, right?
Yeah, so managing supply chain risk has been a big thing. Look, this company was founded in the middle of COVID, and so we're all problem solvers, but I think over the last 2-3 years, we've all become proficient in problem solving in this particular environment, which means that you have to make sure that, one, you're diversifying your sources. In our case, electronics. We can use electronics that are made by US manufacturers. Our design will allow us to use electronics by components, that is, from foreign manufacturers like China. So you may have a microprocessor that is in short supply in the United States. Well, I won't get into that, but you can have a microprocessor that uses Texas Instruments, for example, in the United States. If that's in short supply, we have other options for resistors and microprocessors made by other places. In terms of manufacturing, right now we have 2 manufacturers, one in China and one in the United States, just to get each, you know, sort of proficient with the manufacturing of our device. We've sort of had the US manufacturer focused on manufacturing our PCB, our electronics, and our Chinese manufacturer just basically doing assembly, plastics, and our nail cutting mechanism. So we're pretty diversified to cover that risk, but essentially it's a problem solving exercise when you get down to placing the manufacturing orders, and we are very good at that.
Cool. Good to hear. So my question, and this is a personal one, having been a dog owner for many, many years.
Yes.
Paws and nails come in different sizes.
Yeah.
Your device going to be in different sizes, or is it going to be a true one size fits all canine, one size fits all feline, or is it truly one size fits all?
Well, I mean, the thing that changes are the ergonomics. I mean, the most difficult part of this device isn't necessarily even the light technology. It's the device that cuts the nail, right? The process of getting that much force to cut a small nail and a large nail is really difficult in the size of our device. I mean, this is the device with our packaging, and this is the device. You can see it's pretty small. It doesn't exist anywhere in the world. And so to the extent that there are differences between animals, between species, it's really in how much force is required to cut the nail. In our case, our device makes adjustments based on how light is traveling through the nail. And so, as you point out, there are nails that have, I mean, forget about dogs and cats. Animals have light nails, dark nails, nails that are 3 millimeters, 6 millimeters, and 9 millimeters. Our device will have an app. That app is going to be able to determine, allow people to use our standard settings to make decisions about when and how to cut the nail for, again, for light, dark, and different thicknesses of nails. But it'll also allow people to make their own adjustments. And so it'll have a slide rule that'll say, I want to adjust the sensitivity for my nail based on, you know, my experience, if it's a nail groomer. So you can use our standard features. You can use some standard settings that we're going to load in there for various variations, light nails, dark nails, and thicknesses. And then you can have a more customized approach if you want to adjust the sensitivity manually. And one last thing, your question, it is really, I mean, we are right now, this is one device that we're making. It is a one size fits all. I have 250-pound Cane Corsos. They have extremely thick nails that are kind of on the extreme end of the spectrum. I really made this device for them. We have explored sort of making an XL version for those extreme cases, but the device we are going to market with right now will cover everything else. Nails that are typically about, I think the average dog's nails are like 6 millimeters, light or dark, it'll cut them all.
Cool. Thank you. We won't get into a discussion as to whether it'll cut my chinchilla's nails. That we'll save that for another day. Yeah. Marco, thank you. You can exit stage left, and we'll bring Christian Haller of Core IT to the stage, please.
All right, guys, how you doing today? I'm going to share my screen. And
yeah, let's see if that works, because I've still got Marco's showing up on mine. Okay, now go ahead and share, Christian.
Yep, so it's all shared, and now it should be large.
Let's see. Yeah, pull it. The floor is yours.
Hey, thank you very much. So I'm Christian Haller. I'm the CEO of Core Medical. I also happen to be a member of Keiretsu Forum Mid-Atlantic, and it turns out the Keiretsu Forum Mid-Atlantic was our lead investor and did the detailed due diligence. Core has produced a single-use surgical device for turbinate reduction, which is all about improved breathing, which is a chronic situation in the US. Before we get started, bring this back. Before we get started, this is a $3.5 million raise and a $10 million pre-raise. As we sit here today, we are at $1.5 million raised so far. It is participating preferred shares, which means you get your money back first. We have warrants. They're discounted 50%. Prior to this, we had a $1.45 million seed round. Here's the unmet need. There are 2 other methods for reducing turbinates to improve breathing. They have 4 problems. They take too long. They're poor patient experience with burning flesh and bleeding. The results aren't durable, which means they have to be repeated, and they don't reimburse well. Our inventor developed this product to solve all those issues. When we talk about turbinates and improved breathing, the turbinates are soft tissue in your nose. They're critical for humidification, temperature control, and filtration of the air you breathe. They're just inside your nostril. This is a normal one. It has to be in the airstream to do its job. But when they get swollen, They can swell to the extent that you can't breathe very well, and it has all kinds of problems related to obesity and cardiovascular disease and so on. They swell because of allergies, which are continue to grow in the country. In addition, any general inflammatory disease, which is also seems to be a serious issue and growing, will also cause your turbinates to swell. Regardless of which method you use, what you're trying to do over here is you're trying to go right down the middle of the turbinate and hollow it out, if you will, deflate the balloon, and then collapse it. And all three technologies rely on that. Here's all these other two technologies. One is a shaver, which 3 other guys have. It's got a big piece of electronics with it. It has this long, thin needle, but the tip is literally a grinding tool. So you can imagine sending that grinding tool down the middle of your turbinate and all the bleeding, which is going to happen. It has other issues. Doctors don't like doing it, especially new doctors, so they tend to put it in the OR, which makes it expensive. And if you do it right, it takes a long time. Coblation is currently only offered by Smith & Nephew. It also has a big capital device with it. Bad patient experience, because now you're doing the procedure and you're putting burning tissue and smoke right inside the patient's nose where you're doing the procedure. So patients don't tolerate it very well. It reimburses poorly at half the rate of the shavers, and it also takes a longer time than it needs. Cort solves all those issues. This is our device. You can see it's hand powered. It has no capital device that goes along with it. The entire thing is disposable. And what makes our device unique is we have guides. You can place those guides inside the turbinate. And then when you advance the coring tube, which is rotated and advanced at the same time, you do a precise resection of tissue. And this, the next clip should give us the live action demo. This is the actual training video. So you see those guides are placed. If you need to, you can reposition them. As you advance the tool, the tube rotates. So we're not punching a hole, we're cutting a hole. The other thing that's important is that this is real time. So you saw those other procedures take between 20 and 60 minutes if you get them done right. Ours is done bilaterally. Literally, the actual procedure is less than 3 minutes. By the time you do local anesthesia, it gets up to 10 minutes, but it's very quick. I was going to show it again. All right, durability. We have really good durability. We have the data to back that up. You can see this is the device being used in the patient here. Literally, we take a core of tissue out rather than turning it into smoke or turning it into pulpy, bleedy mess. The other problem with the other techniques is they can cause damage to the submucosal tissue, and they return to baseline pretty quickly. Here are some key facts. We've come to this table with our risk reduced for medical devices. We already have a pre-existing reimbursement code, which has been set up. It's 0-day global, which means the doctor gets paid for every callback for doing this procedure. It is a class 1 device, which means it has no regulatory burden. We have an established market. There's already 1 million procedures performed in the US right now. We have an issued patent. The team is experienced and recently, and a few years ago, developed and launched and sold another company, Spirax, also in the ENT space. Due diligence team says we'll be profitable in 18 to 30 months, ready to exit in 2 to 3 years. In addition to those issues, we have white space in pediatrics and in the EU, neither of which the other guys can go after. We're also results in a situation where we don't need a Series B to further dilute the investors. ENTs love this product. One of the reasons they really like it is because it plays well with the other big procedures, and in particular, sinuplasty, which is the balloon catheterization. They get paid a lot of money for doing a balloon catheterization and a sinuplasty. The last thing they want to do is also do your turbinate reduction at the same time, where you have bad patient experience. So they tend to avoid doing it even when it should be. They love Cort because they can combine the two together. Market feedback has been phenomenal so far. But bottom line is ENTs, every ENT we've spoken to, which is well over 100, they all want it, and the reps want to sell it because they know it's an easy sell. The market is, there's already over 50 million people that suffer disordered breathing. only 1% of those, 1 million of those are getting the turbinate reduction, but that's growing at a rate of at least 10% a year. Plus we have the other untapped markets. The market is also acquisitive. We already have a planned exit. We're talking to our 4 potential strategics. Intersect ENT was acquired by Medtronic last year for over $1 billion. Spirox, the inventors of my prior company, resulted in the Latiria nasal implant, which was acquired by Stryker ENT for about $700 million. And then several years ago, Acclarent was acquired by J&J for a good sum of money as well. The point is, the market is willing to spend a lot of money to differentiate themselves and increase their market scope. We do have an experienced team. I am over 35 years in the business. I am a serial entrepreneur. Dr. Sadie is the inventor. He was the founder of Spirox. So we together have developed and exited another company. And then we have all the other essential guys. We have a full-time CFO, director of investor relationships, regulatory quality, and sales. This is all a stock in and sell. There's a small amount of money for payroll and G&A, but the rest of this is just about manufacturing and getting that product out on the street. I'm happy to announce that we just recently secured our next group of devices. We expect those in between 8 and 12 weeks and to get them out on the street. Like we said, it's a Series A, participating preferred shares, 25K minimum, no Series B. These are the potential acquirers. We're in active conversations with them. We've done demonstrations with them, both in cadavers and actual cases on live patients. We're already beginning to have those kind of the initial dance of acquisition. They've all expressed interest in that. This is low risk, quick exit, because we have all the traditional things that make a medical device company seem challenging to investors. The unknowns, like the reimbursement code, not knowing if you're going to get paid or the doctor will get paid, not knowing if you're going to get through the FDA or if you're going to have to develop a new market, which nobody is ready for, or do you actually have a patent or just a patent applied for? So that's the end of my presentation. Happy to address any questions we may have.
Fabulous, Christian. Thank you. First question is all about, are you manufacturing? Are you using a contract manufacturer? Walk us through your supply chain, please.
Sure. I will try to unhide the slide. I don't know if I can do that. We have supply chain is very simple. And by the way, supply chain is difficult right now.
Yeah.
We're currently molding the shell, the plastic components in China with an established company called Meta Concepts. They're well known in the US industry. We've also second sourced those to another molder in Wisconsin, which I've signed the contracts with last week. The metal component, that's the business end, that's currently manufactured in Rhode Island. We also now have a second source for that device, also in Wisconsin. So we've got contracts with all 4 of those vendors to bring the product together in the next order. The assembler is a company called SimMed, also in Wisconsin. I've worked with them before. Their experience includes class 3 devices, so they're good guys. And then they have to go to sterilization. In medical devices, sterilization is the big issue today. We have engaged a company called Anderson Scientific. They're down in the RTP region. They'll be done with their sterilization validation in just a week or 2. And then they will go back to SimMed. They will do our 3PL.
Okay, so you don't have to even maintain inventory. One of your suppliers is maintaining all your inventory.
We don't want to maintain any inventory.
Right.
We're trying to keep this company lean. I don't want to have a warehouse. I don't want to qualify a warehouse. We're going to be in and out of this quickly enough that it's just not going to be worth the capital investments, the NRE, to get those kinds of things in place.
Okay. Talk a little bit more about your IP, please.
Sure. So we have 4 issued patents. They cover not just this device, but any method of resection of tissue using a coring tube. It's not exclusive to the nasal passages. It also includes liver biopsies, for example, breast biopsies, and so forth. We have coverage right now in Europe and in Asia. And we're in the next round of doing building our moat, if you will, next level of patent protection. We use Venable here in Washington, D.C.
Fabulous. Okay, so the last question, and this is just because I've got personal experience with this surgery, not in my head, but in my wife's head. Turbinates tend to grow back or continue to grow. This is one of those parts of our bodies that, it's an ever-changing. What have your studies shown so far in terms of the duration of improvement for the patients that have had the procedure your way versus other ways?
Sure, that's a great question. So in the coblation market, there are literally hundreds of papers which talk about how with that technique you get a return to baseline in as little as 6 months.
Yep.
The reason is because coblation shrinks the tissue. It actually doesn't burn it away. So eventually the tissue reconstitutes and it comes back. With the shaver debriders, because of the brutal nature, if you will, of the tissue removal, it tends to form scar tissue. So the scar tissue tends to be what's growing back. So you may have shrunk it. We're doing precise resection, which means it's like aesthetic surgery inside the nose, and then it's lateralized and it heals like an aesthetic incision where there aren't any scars, at least not scars that you can measure. Our lead patient is 3 years out, and they still score the same on breathing tests. They have had no return to baseline that we can measure.
That's fabulous. Thank you. Seeing no more. Hold on, let me check. There may be. Last question about your pricing and your margin on your products.
Sure. So we've priced the product to be one-on-one competitive with the coblation wand and the shaver debrider wands. So we're going to have a list of $250. We expect an average ASP of about $200 because you have to give discounts for bulk orders and large practices and first sales. Long term, we have a very clear path to $25 per unit. So selling it for $200, cost of $25. What is very unique about this situation is that our first 2,000 units, which are coming in first quarter, we're actually getting those manufactured for less than $100. It looks like about $70 for our very first units off the line, which is unusual to be still making money on your first units.
Cool. Christian, thank you. You can exit stage left as I view my screen, and
okay.
Take your screen with you. It is a different world living in the virtual. Yeah, hopefully Christian's screen will hop off here in a second. This is the part where we transition to an alumni company, and this is actually one of the fun parts about this because we feel very strongly about our alumni company because that's part of what we do here at MADV. So Joe Rafferty, yeah, there's Joe. We're not doing Q&A with Joe, but Joe will have a table afterwards. So seek him out. But this is an update because Joe was with us close to 2 years ago now, I believe, if not even a little more, to introduce his company, Vestec. Vestec's gone on. They've raised capital. They're in another raise. And what we like to do is bring these sorts of companies back, not only to present and to update us and talk to the investors in the audience, but also to be available for others to ask questions and go, hey, what were you able to leverage off of the MADV experience? So Joe, the stage is yours. I'll exit.
And Glenn, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
You can hear me fine. Okay. Yep. I am trying to manage this process to share the screen. Does anybody have I've got the icon share, present documents. And nothing's coming up. Are there any coaches there?
Hi.
Lindsay.
Lindsay question. You want to click share and present document?
Right. And it says entire screen window. It does not give me an option to select a PowerPoint.
Sure. If you select window, does the PowerPoint show up?
Nope.
Hey, give me just 1 sec.
Joe, we see your screen now.
You see
Yep.
my screen now?
Yep, we see your screen now. Just go ahead and pull up there you go. And now make that full screen and you're ready to go.
All right. Is it full screen now?
It is full screen now.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks for your patience, Lindsay. So my name is Joe Rafferty. I'm the CEO of Vestech. I am a proud Temple alumni and very proud that Mid-Atlantic Diamond Ventures and Delaware Crossing and others have been very supportive of Vestech, and not only through funding but through coaching. They've been very generous with their wisdom, and we are absolutely the beneficiaries of that. As Glenn suggested, we are extending our Series A by an additional $4 million. It is preferred equity. It's a flat round relative to our first round, and it's a bridge to get our first in humans done. As Bruce Shook had recommended, demonstrating human feasibility right now is a great thing given the current financial environments. Venture capitalists will value our next B round at a significantly different level when we've got 6, 8, 10, 12 feasibility cases completed. In Series A, we raised 5.96 million. The pre-money was 7.5. The post-money was 13.2, and that'll be our starting point for this extended preferred equity round. We've got we've got penciled in some firm commitments for almost 2.9 million of the 4 million. And so we do still have room, and things are filling up fast. If you're a poker player or a negotiator in these types of environments, the interesting part about this round is that we're getting an awful lot of money from physicians that are in the space, and we're getting an awful lot of money from industry representatives and executives as individual investments. So word is getting out on the street about what we're doing and how we're doing it, and they're putting their money in even prior to some of these global strategics. For those of you that don't remember, the suture tight catheter delivers these nitinol sutures that comes preloaded with 4 sutures, and what we do is we attach endovascular aortic grafts to the aorta either when they're initially implanted or when they come back for repairs. The problem very quickly, the abdominal aortic aneurysms are first target, largest vessel in the body. If a family member or friend were diagnosed with the problem, they'd have 2 therapeutic options. One, open surgical repair, very painful, long recovery, and a very high risk that you won't get off the table. However, it's very durable. 80% of the patients and their physicians around the world select what's called an endovascular repair. Physician creates 2 small holes in the arteries of the groin and then inserts this graft to exclude blood flow from the aneurysm sac. If you look in this little square here versus this square, the only thing holding this endovascular graft in place is a little bit of radial force and friction. And if, in fact, this aneurysm sac continues to grow, the graft leaks, and now you're back to square one. The data, peer-reviewed data, would suggest that this is happening more and more frequently, and globally, there's a big problem that's been identified. Why is it important now? As I said, 80% of the patients around the world are selecting this procedure. It is the standard of care. Peer-reviewed literature is beginning to excoriate the EVAR procedure, and that it's just not durable. Payers are shifting to quality initiatives, and the best news of all is that Medtronic, there's one competitor, it's a very old technology. They're still spending a lot of money to promote the benefits of sealing these sacs. So we're reaping the benefits in that regard. It's a really big market, 4.8 billion by 2028. We'll bring an incremental billion to that as a tuck-in to one of these global strategic sales bags. It is confirmed as an FDA 510K pathway. The hospitals get reimbursed, the physicians get reimbursed. Two very big markets, the initial implant market and then the repair procedures market. There are about 1 million patients around the world with these grafts already implanted. And as we discussed, they're coming back at an alarming rate. So there's an installed base and physicians just simply don't have a tool. It's a big opportunity for us relative to the platform technology we have. As one of my coaches said, we can fix the aorta from top to bottom and down into the iliacs. This is what the catheter looks like. The 4 sutures are held down in the distal end of the catheter, and we pull them down through the window here very quickly. It goes over the same guide wire that's already in the patient. It goes through the very same guiding sheath that's in the patient. This particular demonstration, the sutures, the physician doesn't like the position of those sutures, pulls them back, repositions the catheter, and then can deliver that same suture in a different location. You can see how quick and easy it is, very simple, and how benign that whole process is. This is a demonstration. This is a preclinical model, and you can see a physician was showing off a little bit to demonstrate how precisely they could position these sutures. Clamping sutures have been patented, a number of different applications patented. Dan Clare is the chief of vascular surgery down at Vanderbilt. He's done 6 different preclinical studies for us himself. He says this device is absolutely ready for first in human cases. We've done, I have 8 preclinical studies here now. We've done 12 now and 3 cadaveric studies. You look at the different designs of these sutures, all patented. This handle has been updated and patented. One competitor in the space, Medtronic, it's very old technology. It's very cumbersome. And the peer-reviewed literature says of the average of 6 sutures that are delivered for each patient, 30% of them are mal-deployed and of no use at all. And so the physicians tell us by design, we've targeted the challenges that the Helifix has, and we've overcome them with the design of the suture tight catheter. Those new designs have allowed us to file 2 new very comprehensive patents from stem to stern and all the internals. So potential acquiring M&A partner will now have 20 plus years of runway with this new technology. We'll stack that on top of 2 existing patents. All the global strategics know who we are. We're talking with them. Ideally, we'd love to tuck into the bag of a Gore or a Boston Scientific, Medtronic. There's a big endovascular space out there. Devoro was just acquired by Boston Scientific. They had 0 revenue in the clot removal space, $360 million. A local legend here, Intact Vascular, Bruce Shook, was acquired not long ago for $360 million, and they didn't have 50 million in revenue at the time of the acquisition. So there's some big numbers. The Medtronic device, the Aptus device, was acquired back in 2015 for $110 million. And you know how the markets have valued some of these deals since then. Back in 2015, Aptus did not have $25 million in revenue. We've got a fantastic team. Bob Mitchell is the chairman of the board. He is the smartest guy in the endovascular space. We just had a major coup. Sean Lydon agreed to sign on. Sean Lydon is the chief of vascular surgery at the Cleveland Clinic. Sean just signed on as our chief medical consultant. Can't be the chief medical officer because he's not a full-time employee. These 2 gentlemen, Kent and Ted, have got almost 100 patents issued between them. They both have exited multiple companies. Dan Clare, I spoke of earlier. Dan was the chief of vascular at Cleveland Clinic, and now he's at the Vanderbilt University. All of these global icons are on the podium. They're interfacing with Medtronic, with Cook, with Gore, potential M&A partners, and they're very interestingly, I won't disclose how much and whom. It's amazing how many of these surgeons are investing in Vestech as they become more aware of our capability and the challenge we're solving. It is a culture of execution. With our first 5.6, we've gotten our Carlsbad manufacturing office up and running, the clean rooms installed. We are manufacturing devices. As I mentioned, we filed two additional patents, the successful preclinical labs, and we are ready for our first in human. There was a question earlier about weren't we supposed to do first in humans in October? We were. Plane tickets were bought. We were ready to go down to South America. Our physician down there could not get patients consented. So as was mentioned earlier, moved to contingency planning. In fact, we've done a great job with contingency planning up to now. And we've got about 5 or 6 different locations that we're targeting to get these first in humans done. So fantastic team, a great technology. There's a significant global unmet need, provides for a tremendous opportunity. As I said, we're extending our Series A, the original terms that many folks on this call have already signed on for, all the same preferences and so on. And as I said, we're about 2.9 penciled in of the $4 million.
Joe, thank you. Fabulous. As I mentioned, you'll be able to find Joe at a table afterwards. Joe, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on all the progress that's been made. It's now my time to exit stage left and turn this back over to Ellen. Ellen, all yours.
Thank you, Glenn, and thank you for a great job emceeing. I want to thank everyone for coming out, supporting our vision of helping early stage companies succeed by providing them with mentorship and access to investors. We hope you enjoyed all the companies that we showed you today. I encourage you to follow up with the companies afterwards, both in the networking break and even after the forum. Just a reminder that we will be sending the feedback in the Google form that we've been dropping in throughout the meeting, so please complete that. I want to thank again our sponsors. You bring so much value to this forum. Just a few reminders about things that are going on in the region's entrepreneurship scene. The Snake Pit, hosted by the Angel Venture Fair, is coming up. And I also want to remind everyone that Temple is always looking for reviewers, and for the different competitions, we'd love to have you sign up. And that it's okay. And you can just take a picture of that link if you want to sign up to be a reviewer. It's a lot of fun, not too much work, a lot of good feeling from doing it. Again, and then next, I want to remind you about the Snake Pit, hosted by the Angel Venture Fair. And finally, the next MADV forum is on Friday, March 17th, followed by summer in June 16th, which we are hoping will be live and in person. A lot of you have been asking about us about that. And then you can see the other dates. We'll send you more information about that. And then just a reminder, during the networking session, you can just hop from table to table, double click on the table you want to be moved to. You'll get there. Networking will end at 1:30. Lindsay will have a timer that you can see. We'll give you a warning when the meeting's over. And, I just want to thank Lindsay, who's done such a great job making the whole event run so seamlessly. A zillion pieces. Lindsay makes it happen. We have a new MADV intern, Karan Yerneni. Please introduce yourself to him. He's been just a fabulous help. We will see you all in March. And again, hopefully in June, we'll be in person. See you all. Thank you for coming out.